Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our discussion today is about the reality of this coronavirus and some of the thoughts and theories that are around it. There are around the whole COVID-19 reality and this pandemic a range of conspiracy theories which have caused a lot of confusion and discussion around the world on social media, and this is important for us to understand and to discuss because these theories have effects. Because of these theories, sometimes some people may be reckless or reluctant to follow the measures as set out by the World Health Organization or the health experts. So what it does is these conspiracy theories makes people believe or gives people a chance to believe that what's happening out there isn't a real problem, and so therefore it's okay for people to be continuing with their life as they were, number one. So it causes carelessness. Number two, it has also a negative effect on people's iman, in the sense that when people think that this is being orchestrated by a range of people or projects, then instead of these people then relying and resorting to Allah's mercy, which is the reality that this is a pandemic, this is a huge global problem which would normally and is supposed to cause people to return to Allah, to do tawbah to Allah, to do istighfar to Allah, to seek Allah's protection and refuge, these theories make people think sometimes that it's all under control, and those who are perpetrating these, they are to be blamed, and so there's no need for us to be excessively returning to Allah or to be cautious and careful, as advised by the health experts and as advised spiritually by the religious leaders and experts. So it has an adverse and negative effect on the behavior of people, and so therefore, because it affects the health and the iman of people, it lands on our desk, and we must now discuss the reality of these theories. Is there any truth to them, or what are they? One of the common theories out there which aims or claims to explain this whole coronavirus is the development of and the progress of 5G internet. There are people out there on social media claiming that the reason why people in Wuhan were falling dead is because 5G internet was activated, and that was having a direct effect on their cells, and that was causing their hearts to stop working and making them unable to breathe and damaging their cells and etc. And so therefore they started to drop dead. Similarly is the case, they claim, the theory claims that similarly is the case across the globe. So places like America, places like Italy and Spain and Germany and the UK, the reason why this is happening is because there is an activation of 5G internet, and it has nothing to do with this coronavirus, the virus which is mutated through its natural form, and so therefore it has been orchestrated and done by an active plan, people who are behind it. The reality of this is the 5G internet, now that it's coming about, is causing a lot of discussion. But if we look into the past, there were similar discussions when Wi-Fi came about also. When 4G came out, there were similar discussions also. And 3G, there were also similar discussions also, and doubts. In fact, the 5G internet, as from a scientific perspective, it is the radiation that comes from 5G internet or 4G or these forms of communications that we use is radiation, yes. However, it is called non-ionizing. Non-ionizing meaning it can't damage or kill people's DNA. It can't destroy people's cells. Yes, radiation at a higher frequency, like X-ray, like microwave and etc., can cause severe damage, like ultraviolet rays. These can cause severe damage. However, 3G, 4G, 5G, these are within the remit and limitations of being non-ionizing and non-damaging. And so to look at it from a logical perspective, if 5G is, which is 10 times stronger, supposedly it's 10 times stronger and faster, gives better internet, better circulation, better reach, and etc. If it was so dangerous, then surely the 4G should have had a similar amount of coronavirus effect by now. It's been around for a long time. So this goes to show, and there's research around it, that 5G isn't the cause for the coronavirus outbreak. In fact, people say that the first place that 5G became activated was in Wuhan, and so it began there. Yes, one of the places that first installed more than 100,000 5G towers was China. But it wasn't just in Wuhan. It was also in Beijing, in Shanghai, in Guangzhou, in Hangzhou, in various other cities too. Also in Germany. Early on in 2019, there was installation of 5G. Also in America. In the various cities that 5G is active, these are cities or states where there isn't a matched level of coronavirus cases to suggest or to support the claim that 5G is the causation or the cause of coronavirus. It needs to be clarified because people are thinking this to be true, and it's causing for them to be reluctant to follow the rules and regulations of health experts and religious experts. And so therefore it must be understood. That's the 5G. Secondly, some people are claiming that it is a biological weapon. Started off by China, because there is a huge research center there in Wuhan, and that's where it began from. Well, in reality, there is a huge research center in Wuhan, but the reason behind that isn't to start off this COVID-19 and to kill people around the world with it. It's because when the SARS and the MERS came out long time ago, these were being researched in these research centers, and so just because this research center appears to be or seems to be in the same place as where it broke out, it does not mean that this was made or created there. That's number one. Second question, if China made the coronavirus, why was China the first most severely and is still one of the most severely affected countries in the world? Okay, it wasn't made by China, it was made by America. If America made the coronavirus, why is the American economy and the entire country on standstill and is coming to a slow halt and is damaging the entire economy and the strength and the power of these countries? UK, Italy, Spain, France, USA, these are some of the most severely affected countries. And so if we say they made the coronavirus, then why are they attacking themselves with it? These are questions which can't be answered, and so therefore they indicate, alongside with the fact that the composition of the coronavirus, the way it appears under the microscope, it is clear that it is not a fabricated or made or lab-made virus. It is a naturally mutated virus which came, and that's still being researched, but from what the experts have suggested so far, from bats, through another animal, then it mixed with the human cells, and this was a virus that came out in this manner. That's number two, that it's a biological weapon. We have understood and we've seen that it's quite hard to argue that this is a biological weapon if we look at it from a logical or from a realistic perspective. Number three, another theory out there which bases on eugenics, meaning that there are people who are trying to kill most of the people in the world because this is what they want to do. They want to kill and reduce people, the undesired people of society. They call them the undesired, meaning the weak, ones with the less immunity, the elderly, those who are weaker in the society, that supposedly this coronavirus has come about to finish them off in society. And so therefore, this is an orchestrated and planned thing, and everybody else shouldn't be affected by it, and it's okay to carry on. Again, this theory also has adverse and negative effects on our carefulness with our health and our iman, meaning people will seem to or appear to be less careful both in their health, to take care of their health and to follow the guidelines, and also not resort to Allah because this is a pandemic. If we think that it's controlled and orchestrated by someone, then psychologically what people do is they blame that person and say this person will be punished by Allah, and this person is bad, and this organization is bad, and we just need to wait and see what happens. They don't actually take the step of resorting, making dua to Allah, being desperate to Allah. Because when you have a supposed explanation, this gives you some sort of psychological comfort. It's sometimes more difficult to face up to the fact that it's uncontrollable. People want to be comforted by the thought that it's controlled. Even if it's been controlled by someone else, they feel comforted by this thought that it's being controlled by someone or some human being or some organization. So first of all, this coronavirus is equally affecting or is affecting healthy people also, number one. Number two, if we look around the world, the countries where the coronavirus is hugely affecting people are not countries where there is less facilities or a lack of care for the elderly or those with weak immunity or those who have health weaknesses. If you, for example, look at the UK, we have the NHS, which is an establishment, which is one of the most amazing things that's happened in human history, taking care of the unwell, the weak, and those who are unhealthy for completely free. This is something amazing. And so if these people, the so-called theory says that it's trying to finish off the weak people, then why are these same governments the ones that are looking after the weak people? Why are they the same governments that are looking after the weak people if they are the ones that are trying to kill them or finish them off? These are questions that need to be answered by those who are theorizing in this way. Another theory says that this is being orchestrated by this 1%. That this whole world is being controlled by this 1% of people. And the rest of the 99% are being controlled. And in this 1% are the Freemasons and the Illuminati and all of these groups who are all working together, including governments and the police forces and the army and the health sectors and everyone. The problem with this theory is the 1% of 7 billion, 1% of 7 billion is 70 million people. 70 million people are all working in this organization together. That's the theory. And they are all hiding and they are all working together to destroy the whole of the world and attack the whole of humanity. And none of them falls out with their partners. None of them comes out to expose them. None of them leaves the organization and says, today I'm going to go and say everything. And so to suggest that 1%, which is from 7 billion, is actually 70 million people, even if it's less than 1%, it's a huge amount of people, that they are so organized and so secretive that this entire a whole country's worth of people are hiding this information from us and they're all in this together. This is also a bit of a far-fetched argument, especially in the sense that if it deters you, if this kind of theorizing deters you and stops you from being extra careful with your health care and with your imani solutions that these scholars are suggesting to us also. Now here it's really important. I've mentioned to you about 4 of these arguments and how they don't actually follow through with the logic, are not completely intact, and in fact they oppose some of the principles that we have. We know about Sulaiman alayhi salatu wassalam. Sulaiman alayhi salatu wassalam, he says, وَأُوتِينَا مِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. We've been given everything. Allah gave him the control over everything like no other person will ever be given. Allah says in the Quran, رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِ. Oh Allah, give me such a kingdom that nobody after me can have. And so for us to claim that there is such a people, such an organization who we imagine to be controlling from the weather to our minds to the entire globe to the finest detail is a bit of a stretch. And in fact, may be in opposition with the Quranic guidelines as to how powerful anyone can be. Allah also says in Surah Ibrahim, وَقَدْ مَكَرُوا مَكْرَهُمْ. They've planned, وَعِنْدَ اللَّهِ مَكْرُهُمْ. However, Allah has their plans in His control. وَإِن كَانَ مَكْرُهُمْ لِتَزُولَ مِنْهُ الْجِبَالِ. Even if their plans were to move the mountains with their plans. And so it is very important for us with belief to understand that all of these people who claim power, who seem to be pulling the ropes or the strings, they can never be or even come close to being stronger or as powerful or more powerful than the qudra of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is very, very important that we do not lose hope. We do not stop worshipping Allah. We do not stop resorting to Allah. Allah says in Surah Al-Imran, الَّذِينَ قَالَ لَهُمُ النَّاسُ إِنَّ النَّاسَ قَدْ جَمَعُوا لَكُمْ فَاخْشَوْهُمْ. Some of the people said to the Prophet ﷺ on Yawm al-Uhud that the people have gathered all around you. فَاخْشَوْهُمْ. So be scared. Allah says, فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Rather, instead of them being scared about these secret organizations or these people that are pulling the strings, instead what they did is, فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا. This increased their faith in Allah. وَقَالُوا حَسْبُنَا اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. And they said, Allah is enough for me and He is the best one to rely upon. When Ibrahim ﷺ was ummah, one nation by himself, according to some tafsir, he was the only believer at the time, and the entire world against him. When he was being thrown into the fire, he says, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is enough for me. This faith has to be there. And with this faith, we must take the precautionary measures as advised, because Allah says in the Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you don't know about a science, about a knowledge, go to the experts of that field. And so it is, some people will say, well, I don't need to follow the health guidelines because it's not Quran. It is a command from the Quran to follow the health guidelines. Where فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Follow the guidelines of the experts of the field that concerns you. We need to understand that everything happens by the permission of Allah, and nothing can happen without the permission of Allah. Even if it was something as severe as black magic. Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا هُمْ بِضَارِّينَ بِهِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. We don't know of something which is invisible in that manner and can affect somebody to such a huge degree, which can cause even death, like black magic. We're saying 5G, we're saying all of these coronavirus and other things, but magic, as we know, is evident from the Quran and Sunnah. We don't know of anything as powerful as magic that can invisibly kill someone, as a weapon can be used with a form of kufr. And yet Allah is saying that they can't harm somebody unless Allah allows it to. Our iman in Allah is completely unstoppable, unshakable, and it is our iman that says that these situations can happen. It is our Islam that teaches us that these kinds of adhab and pandemics can come from Allah Azza wa Jal. In a hadith narrated to us by Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches us that he turned to us and said, O Muhajirun, there are 5 things with which you will be tested, and I seek refuge with Allah, lest you live to see them. He warns them against 5 things, and if these 5 things happen, Allah's punishment will come in different ways. The first of them, he says, fawahish, immorality, never appears among the people to such an extent that they commit it openly, except that plagues and diseases which were never known to those who came before them will appear among them. This is Islamic guidelines. This is the ahadith that this can be, and it's quite, we can say that if there is any evidence, any indication that the world has come to a situation where we need to check ourselves, we need to correct ourselves, and this can be, and it is, as far as the indications are showing, a punishment and a warning from Allah Azza wa Jal, which must be taken seriously. We must resort to Allah with dua, with istighfar, with sincere tawbah, with desperation, and by the guidelines of the experts of these fields. And even if it was a ploy, like these conspiracy theories suggest, we need to remember that Allah Azza wa Jal is enough for us. There is no harm that can come to us except for by Allah Azza wa Jal's permission. And so let's not become busy with these theories. Let's become busy with Allah, who is the controller of these theories, who has the ability to overpower any of these theories or any of these people about whom we are theorizing. Let's not forget that Allah Azza wa Jal, He is Al-Hayyul Qayyum. He is Ala Kulli Shay'in Qadir. This is an opportunity for us to resort to Allah. Let's not waste this opportunity by comforting ourselves by making theories which say that this is not in fact something that's a pandemic or something otherwise. It's some people doing it from somewhere, and so therefore let's focus on them and research about them. Let's not do this. Let's not allow this to distract us from the actual ibadah that we should be doing at this time. Resorting to Allah, doing tawbah, doing istighfar, learning, establishing salah, resorting to Allah with dua. And so therefore, my dear respected brothers and sisters, these are some things to bear in mind, and let's use this as an opportunity, like we've said before, to turn to Allah Azza wa Jal and return to Allah. Lastly, I want to say that some people will also say that this is in fact a metaphorical appearance of Dajjal. That the Dajjal in his metaphor is appearing now in his sort of non-physical senses appearing now to control the entire world. First of all, Dajjal is not a metaphor. Whoever claims Dajjal is a metaphor hasn't understood the Quran and the Sunnah. Dajjal is an actual person who will come at the end of time. Yes, there will be difficulties before that. For us to say that this is by the control of Dajjal and etc., this is also incorrect. Let's go with what's there as clear evidence. Health experts are saying such and such. The Quran is saying such and such. Let's follow these clear evidences and go with that instead of wasting our time on other theories, because these kind of theories, talking about them, spreading them, discussing them, doesn't just waste your time. It can cause to become careless, people to become careless and damage their health and damage others' health. It can also distract you from your iman and from your ibadah and from the things that you're supposed to be doing at times like this. May Allah give us all the ability to understand and to practice.